Hello, I'm Nick Langworthy, chairman of the New York State Republican Party. But I'm speaking to you today first and foremost as a father and as a New Yorker. The truth is, you certainly don't need Kathy Hochul, or even me for that matter, to tell you what the state of our state is. You know it in your mind and in your heart and your bones that New York State is broken. A dangerous combination of incompetence and extreme leftist ideology is destroying what used to be the greatest state in the country. Your wallet, your safety, and your freedoms have all been hit with a 2x4. And every time you try to get back up, the state issues yet another blow. Whether it's in Washington or here in New York, the number one ingredient missing from our leadership is just good old-fashioned common sense. You're not alone when you read the paper or you watch the news and you ask yourself, what the hell are they thinking? It might make you mad. It might make you frustrated, but for too many New Yorkers, it's made you feel hopeless. And if I had $1 for every person that I've encountered who said to me, New York's a lost cause, I'd be a really wealthy guy now. That hopelessness has led to catastrophic population loss. And right before Christmas, the census data confirmed what we all suspected, that once again, New Yorkers are leaving. But what's different now is that they're leaving at a historic rate, faster and in greater numbers than ever before. We lost more than 350,000 residents last year alone, and more than 1.5 million have left here since Democrats have been running this state as governor. That is a damning indictment of their leadership. What can speak louder than people packing up their homes, leaving their jobs, and their families and their friends and everything they know to get away and to start over somewhere else? The people that have left have broken up with New York, and the ones remaining, they're thinking about leaving this toxic relationship all the time. Now let's be clear. The people who are leaving aren't moving to blue states, to Democrat-dominated states like California or Washington. They're moving to the, quote, red states like Florida or Texas or Tennessee. In other words, free states, prosperous states, growing states. States that show respect for hardworking, law-abiding taxpayers and don't kowtow to the radical leftist mob. Those people are trading decline and corruption for opportunity and freedom. Our people are our absolute greatest asset. And families are being broken up, with grandparents being forced to have a FaceTime relationship with their grandkids. We're educating our children only to watch them leave and provide their talents to businesses in other states. But honestly, who could blame them? Their alternative is to stay in the highest tax state in the nation, where property taxes and income taxes, they're crushing impediments to leading a middle-class life in this state. Did you know today that 1 out of every 3 New Yorkers is on Medicaid? A third of our population is stuck trapped in government dependency under Democrat governors because that's the trap that they've created to keep their own power. It's the driving cause of our high property taxes, where in most counties, the entire tax levy goes solely to pay for Medicaid, and then some. When you couple New York's high cost of living with skyrocketing inflation, thanks to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi, leaving is not a choice. It's the only thing left to do. People who did everything right still can't afford to pay their bills here. And if that on its face isn't maddening enough, when you look at who is being treated as a priority by this governor, it's criminals, it's lobbyists, and it's people that are in this country illegally. Democrats' deadly bail reform law has resulted in nearly 3,500 cases where criminals who were released without bail went on to commit violent felonies. Now think about that. That's 3,500 victims of serious crimes, 3,500 lives who are forever changed. And it's getting worse by the day. Just yesterday, the new woke Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, he just announced that the only crimes that he's prosecuting for any jail time are murder and deadly assault. And you can commit a slew of other crimes, including resisting arrest from a police officer, and not be prosecuted at all. That's it. Charges drop, go on your merry way. And what's even more stunning is that Governor Kathy Hochul thinks that's perfectly acceptable. There's no regard for how these crimes affect victims, and society at large. The complete breakdown of our criminal justice system, courtesy of New York Democrats, should anger everyone, regardless of what your party affiliation may be. Andrew Cuomo may have left in disgrace, but the policies that destroyed our state under his watch, they're in full force. They are his legacy. The cozy, corrupt cabal in the halls of the state capitol are very much intact. For the last 7 years, Kathy Hochul, she sat right in the shadow of Andrew Cuomo. Her office just steps from his. She was his loyal lieutenant who said nothing. She did nothing to challenge him, even in the face of blatant corruption and gross incompetence. She might not scream and threaten like Andrew Cuomo, but she's no less of an Albany operator. And you'd have to be to remain in his orbit for as long as she did. You know what they say, when you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. Kathy Hochul turned a blind eye to protect her own power. And now there is nothing that this accidental governor won't do to hold on to it. That's not integrity, that's complicity. And she continues to remain complicit as she and other Democrats, from Biden's DOJ on down to the DA's offices, who are giving Cuomo a free pass from prosecution. Hochul even refused to do her own internal investigation into Cuomo's deadly nursing home order. No justice for the families. No justice. Without the political pressure to impeach or to prosecute, Democrats are hoping that you forget about all the stain that the Cuomo-Hochul administration was. And Cuomo once again is allowed to evade accountability for his crimes. In less than 5 months since she ascended to governor, Kathy Hochul has taken more than a few tricks that she learned from her tenure in the Cuomo administration. In her first major decision, where she selected a lieutenant governor, the person who, if history repeats itself, has a really realistic shot of becoming governor themselves. Who did she choose? She chose a corrupt, scandal-scarred, defund the police radical senator. He fits in well along with all the Cuomo cronies that she's chosen to keep employed. She's already running an administration less transparent than the Prince of Darkness himself. By hiding her meetings with the lobbyists and the special interests, she's raised more than $10 million from them in the last 3 months alone. Failing to disclose these meetings isn't just unethical, but it's a direct violation of the law. Corruption isn't the only hallmark of the Cuomo-Hochul administration. We know far too well that incompetence has been a big factor in New York's downfall, and nowhere has that been more on display than in the state's woefully pathetic COVID response. We are in a crisis of Hochul's own making, as we are facing massive testing and medical staffing shortages. She was warned about the Omicron wave, and she did nothing. She continued and doubled down on implementing a dangerous and wrong-headed vaccine mandate on healthcare and hospital workers, forcing their firings if they didn't comply. That wasn't supported by science. They kept our families safe and put themselves in harm's way. They were the people that we celebrated last year with a parade in the Canyon of Heroes. And then they were summarily fired at a time when we continue to need them the most. Patriotic New Yorkers, they've had to go to court to sue the state for freedoms that they're entitled to under our Constitution. It's wrong, and it's a gross abuse of power. To this day, our state's most vulnerable citizens, our seniors and our children, they continue to be impacted the worst. Elderly New Yorkers who are at the highest risk of serious illness and death, they're being forced to wait hours in the cold to try to get a test. Children continue to endure altered learning environments that will mean another year of stunted growth and development. Small businesses, they're struggling to keep up with the ever-evolving list of arbitrary rules and terrible mandates. We're nearly 2 years into this pandemic, and neither Joe Biden nor Kathy Hochul have given us any new tools to fight this. They can't even properly manage the basics like simple testing. Kathy Hochul likes to call herself a Joe Biden Democrat. And on that, we happen to wholeheartedly agree with her. They are both in over their heads, and they're totally incompetent. To cover up this painfully obvious fact, they stoke fear and division while failing to offer any real solutions to fix our problems. There is no vision in this state. To fix New York, we need a fresh start. We need to take a bottle of bleach to the halls of Albany and clean house. We don't need to settle for Cuomo's number 2. We need bold leadership and someone with the courage to stand up to the extremists who make New York a socialist sanctuary for criminals. For years, the left has been trying to scare New Yorkers into keeping the same failed Democrat status quo. Meanwhile, our neighbors in blue states like Massachusetts, Vermont, into the South, and Maryland, they've wised up and elected Republican governors. New Jersey came extremely close to doing the same last fall, and Virginia got the job done and has the first Republican governor in a generation. In the same election, New Yorkers from all corners of the state threw out local Democrat leaders. From the suburbs in the strength of Long Island to the city of Buffalo, New Yorkers rejected socialism. They rejected the direction of our country and the state under Democrat control from top to bottom. But that must only be the beginning of this comeback. Democrats control everything from Washington to Albany, and the results you can see for yourself. From our wallets to our safety, as we go about our daily lives, we are seeing the consequences of the last several elections. People must remember, you get the governments you vote for. Any grievance you have with your state government must be addressed at the ballot box this November. This is the year for real change, for a new dawn for our state. This is the year that we say, enough is enough. This is the year that New Yorkers stop saying things are hopeless and they start fighting back to take our state back. Finally, for those of you who don't trust us Republicans to deliver, you don't have to take my word for it. Look around at the common sense leadership being offered by Republican executives around New York State. From Staten Island to Nassau County, Dutchess, Onondaga, Chemung, Chautauqua, Niagara, counties and beyond. Republican leaders are delivering smart and honest, effective government. It can be done if enough people are willing to stand up and take a hammer to the status quo. If you won't do it for you, do it for the next generation. Do it to become part of the greatest comeback story in our nation. Do it to remind the politicians in charge that they work for you. Do it to save our state. Thank you. May God bless you all. God bless the great state of New York, and God bless America.